Hendren, thank you very much indeed. Well, this election is decided. If it is decided, it's going to have an impact on international relations. Michael Bociurkiw is a global affairs analyst. He joins us now by Skype from Miami in Florida. What's your impression? I mean, do you think that foreign policy is going to be something that is changed dramatically if it does become a Biden presidency?
Well, good to be with you, and thank you for having me. Well, I will say, on the one hand, having recently toured Idaho and Washington State and here in Florida, a lot of Americans I spoke to on either side of the political divide have voiced more concern about America's traditional role as the interventionist, as the policeman. A lot of people say we have to take care of problems first here at home. Having said that, I think President Trump will go down in history for an interesting thing he did, and that is he basically broke up the old international order. He broke up a lot of the gridlock that he inherited from previous presidents and from the Obama administration. Things like the UN, gridlock within NATO, our approach to China, to Russia. So I think Biden will have a very interesting opportunity now to come in and restore that kind of order, but in a more kind of efficient, proactive way. And let's see how that works, for example, with Vladimir Putin in Russia, who always seems to be one or two steps ahead of any American president and often gets his way. So it would be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks and months with the Biden presidency.
I suppose that's assuming it is a Biden presidency. What would you say that if it does end up being just a 4 years only for Trump, what would you say his biggest legacy is in terms of the America's position in the world?
Sure. Well, look, I'm Canadian, and we share the longest border in the world with the United States. We really feel everything that happens with them. So we have felt, for example, much less leadership in things like climate change. A big one, of course, is the coronavirus. When any of these global pandemics happen, it takes very, very strong leadership. I'm sorry to say we haven't really seen that from the World Health Organization or the UN this time. But had the United States been much more aggressive with China, much more proactive in terms of putting up these travel controls, I think we would be in a much better place right now. Trump, in the next, whether he's elected or not, in the next few months, he still has a little bit of slack left in his term. But if he does get reelected, I think he will continue on this path of kind of breaking apart the international order, may spend a bit of time also neutralizing more opponents. But I think one thing we have to give him credit for is really putting President Xi of China and Vladimir Putin on their toes.
How damaging do you think is it to see the kind of the delays, or perhaps the kind of suggestion that things might be resolved in the courts rather than through vote counting, in terms of America's standing as a leading democracy?
Sure. Well, that's a very good question. And I think a lot of allies, Canada included, have calculated for this. We understand that in these large countries, these large, difficult democracies, that things take time to do it properly. I think, if I can say this, last night, I think it was a mistake on President Trump's part to kind of throw a match on top of all of this. Those were very incendiary remarks, saying that there's fraud. It actually, when I was listening to it, I thought that this is something even President Putin would have said about the United States, that there's chaos, there's fog, that things can't be trusted. So it does affect America's standing. Lauren, if I could say one more thing, if I can, I just spoke with the former Deputy Secretary General of NATO and the former ambassador to Russia and to Seoul. And he said one of the things that a Biden presidency would try to do is perhaps get some payback for Russia meddling in the 2016 election. On the other hand, Washington will look towards Russia, for example, cooperation in the Iran nuclear accord, and also in things like climate change and battling the coronavirus.
Michael Bociurkiw, thank you very much indeed for talking to us on Al Jazeera. Thank you.
My pleasure.